Welcome back. This is the Hackattack Pharaoh podcast. Mine is Pharaoh, just Hackattack today, but with me in studio is a person who interests me a lot, Whitney Ingram, the witty film girl. That's your Instagram handle, right? I
Yes.
cannot believe that the real witty film girl is taking time from her insanely busy schedule to waste some time with me. This is amazing. So I've been following you, and that sounds, if that were outside the social media era, that sounds creepy. But I've been following you. I've seen your posts, and we are catching lightning with this interview because you are a successful filmmaker. You're a very busy and, by all appearances, talented filmmaker, and that fascinates me because we got to address the elephant in the room. You're a woman, and being a woman, we have to acknowledge this, right? The whole damn world's a boys' club. Can you think of any more male saturated industry than the film industry, perhaps? And yet there you are standing toe to toe and really getting into it and really just carving out your own niche. And so that fascinates me, that interests me. And we only have interesting people on. So we're going to dive into
Well,
that.
that's a relief.
Yeah. So relax. You're interesting. That's why you're here. But who are you? Let's dive in. Tell me who you are, first of all, and where you're from, and that's a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So grew up in Utah, still here. Um, Born
Where'd you
in
grow up?
Canada. Have dual citizenship. My mom's Canadian, my mom's whole side's Canadian, but grew up in Utah, Utah County specifically.
Where'd you grow up?
Orem, Lehigh, if anyone knows that
Yeah.
area, pretty close to Provo.
Yeah.
Very, very Mormon area. um, Went to Utah Valley University, graduated in digital media with an emphasis in cinema production.
Mhm.
Um, did freelance for a few years after that. Now I'm kind of in a different between where I'm a video director full time for a great company where we do product videos, nonprofit videos, commercials, all kinds of stuff that I used to do doing freelance. And then I also do freelance on the side. So hence my busy schedule.
Hence, yeah, a lot. So let me ask you something. You say you grew up in this very Mormon conservative area. Are you yourself Mormon, first of all?
I grew up Mormon. I'm no longer Mormon.
We're gonna dive in, girl. Just a warning, heads up. We're gonna get deep. That's the
Okay,
goal.
no problem.
Really, past what we see on the Instagram post. So what's crazy is you're doing something non-conservative, right? Certainly by Utah standards. You're a woman, right? And
Yeah.
if you're staying on track with that cookie cutter model, you're not getting overeducated. You're maybe going on a mission, a shortened mission, and you're marrying a nice return missionary, and you're cranking out kids, making more Mormons, and doing what you're told, right?
Right.
Going to church every Sunday. You're not doing that, right? How did
No.
this fiery alternative, light within you emerge in so conservative an upbringing?
I ask myself that all the time. I don't really know. I think a lot of it has to do with my mom's Canadian. So I didn't necessarily grow up in a normal Utah Mormon household. Um, and my mom's a very strong woman. She raised three kids basically on her own. She's always just lived her life by her own standards, not necessarily by the church or anything like that. And so she kind of, I guess, just paved a way for like me, my older sister, and my brother to kind of just do what we thought was right in our own way and be independent. Um, Even though I feel like I'm not really anything like anyone in my family, and I'm definitely not like anyone here. I definitely stand out. Um, I don't know. I guess I just kind of like I took off like with my mom's consent, like just be your own person and be strong on your own. And just kind of went with that. I guess I just always questioned things. I was curious about things, and I didn't like being told what to do. And so I just kind of just went from there. I was always kind of a weird kid, and I loved art and music and all these different things. And I didn't necessarily fit in, but I guess I didn't care at the same time.
Your weirdness is your strength.
I don't know. I think that might surprise some people because maybe I look so normal and innocent on the outside, but I'm pretty weird.
You have that classic Utah County glow about you.
I do. I definitely do. I look like I'm from here, so
Nice girl from Orem.
it's a little different. Yeah.
Here's what I like to ask people. It's a Utah question. How did you break away from Mormonism? How'd you get out? How'd you bust the cage?
It was kind of a slow process. I don't think I was ever really fully in the church. I questioned things from the time I was 7 years old. And so in high school, I really started to break away. And then, it was just like a slow process. Like you just find out more things and I don't agree with that. I don't want to be a part of this. And eventually, I got my records removed and I feel so much better.
Wow.
And a lot of people don't do that. And I just felt like, you know what, I don't want them to have my name because I really don't believe in it. And that's kind of all there was to it.
Les, that requires a little bit of explanation for our non-Utah listeners. Anyone in the Utah bubble, we know what she means by records, but
Right.
Explain that to the listeners.
So I was baptized in the Mormon church. You get baptized when you're 8 years old. And then your name goes into the church and you're a part of the church and you're on the records. Right. And so once you get your records removed, you're no longer a part of the church. They no longer have your name or your contact info. And basically you're just not a part of it anymore. So
going to hell in their minds, but you're free by
sure.
all right. So people will think of more, that's the first thing that comes to mind when we say Utah. I'm from Utah. Like, oh, you're Mormon? Are you Mormon?
Yep.
People don't even know what to look for.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got all these piercings and stuff. Like, no, I'm not Mormon. But once you're in, it's you have to do a lot of formal stuff to get out.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually pretty easy for me. There's a website called quitmormon.org, which is pretty funny. Yeah, so I think I just submitted a form and I was out in a few months. So.
Mormoncancellation.com.
Yeah, I think the growth became so rapid that something like that needed to happen. So.
Oh my God. So why film? What was the early influences on you? How were you able to arrive by the time you're in college? Like, this is what I want to study. This is what I want to do. What were your influences growing up? How did things aim that way?
So my first love was music. I always thought I was going to do something in music. If we want to go really young, I loved the Spice Girls and the Backstreet Boys, if you guys want to know how old I am.
90s girl alert.
Yeah. So I wanted to be a singer. I'm a terrible singer. It doesn't come naturally to me. And in high school, I took a TV and video production class, and our first assignment was music videos. And I realized like I just love music, but I love creating as well. And from that point on, I think I was 15, I just decided, okay, I'm going to be a music video director. Since I suck at singing and I don't necessarily, have the tools or like the gumption to do like music full time, maybe I'll just do music videos. And that kind of like eased me into it. And then, so by the time I graduated,
You didn't play an instrument or anything?
I played guitar very poorly. I failed guitar in high school. Let's just say that. Like, it was supposed to be an easy class. I failed it. So, yeah. So I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in film by the time I graduated high school. And then I'd always written stories and I'd always created stuff, but I don't think I necessarily knew that filmmaking was a job growing up. I just sort of did it. Yeah, I just sort of did it. And I realized like recently, like I had made videos with my little brother, and because someone else had recently brought that up, like, oh, I used to make videos with my siblings and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh yeah, I used to do that too. That's so funny. Like I used to like create these little skits and these videos and all these different things, but I just did it because I thought it was fun, not because like I wanted to make a movie or anything.
Sure, yeah.
So once I graduated high school, I was like, okay, I'm going to make music videos. And then it just kind of spitballed from there. I started writing a lot. And then I was like, okay, I want to be a filmmaker. and it just incorporated everything that I love, which is creativity, entertainment, music. It's fun, it's challenging. Like there's just so many different aspects to it that I was like, okay, like I can handle choosing this job because I had so many things I wanted to do. This kind of incorporated everything into it.
You seem like a person who's not afraid to take risks. I mean, look how you're here. I'm a total stranger. You don't
Yeah.
know me. For all of her record, for all those listening, we found her on Instagram. We're like, wow, a female filmmaker. Because we've had all sorts of filmmakers on this podcast.
Uh-huh.
This is diversity. We got to get, and here you are. That's taking a chance. That's taking a risk. And so it's just diving into that, because I think anything in the arts, I think the bravest people on the planet are artists. Because not only do you have to be vulnerable, but the arts don't pay, right? It's a big risk to go
Right.
and put all your eggs in that basket. But
Mm-hmm.
world needs artists. We are the voice of society. We are the brave ones, right?
Right. That's
As
what I tell myself.
yeah, accountants and scientists are important, but are they brave? It takes a lot to create. Creation is an act of bravery, because the second you create, you could be rejected.
Yep.
So,
That's very
you
true.
did the UVU thing. You stuck in Orem,
Mm-hmm.
and so what? After that, you work for a company. Who do you work for?
So
You
I
get
right
started right out of college.
No, I did freelance for 4 years right out of college. It was very hard. I went through a lot of different trials and heartache and just stuff that I didn't anticipate happening.
Okay.
Like, when you graduate, oh, say that again.
What are some of your challenges? That's what I want to hear.
I mean, like, so it took 6 years for me to graduate college. I hate school. I'm a
Yeah.
terrible student.
Yes.
Um, I feel
And
like a lot of people in the arts are probably, or at least a lot of people I know. And so by the time I graduated, like there'd been so much pent up, like, okay, like this is going to happen when I graduate. Like it's taken me so long. Now I have all this freedom, no excuses. And there was just nothing. And I was like, oh, okay, now what do I do? Like, this is scary. Like, I've spent so much time and so much money and sacrificed so much to get here, and I have nothing lined up.
oh
Which is,
God.
I feel like a lot of people feel like that when they graduate college anyway, in a lot of senses. But when you're in film, there's really no path. There's no like, okay, I have my degree, give me a job.
Trying to work my first movie set. Yeah.
No one cares. Like I did a lot of grunt work. I did a lot of PA jobs. I did everything I could find. I tried doing a feature film, which fell apart. Like I did a lot of different things. I had to move back home. Like
Oh,
I was really broke. Like, I mean, like I think it's funny, like when people say certain things to me, like, dude, obviously don't know me, like saying, oh, like you're so privileged or blah, blah, blah. You have it so easy. I'm like, no, like I really did struggle. And it was really hard for me to get here. Um,
you've worked to where you've gotten.
I've definitely worked. Like I've been working for literally, I mean, if you want to include school, 10 years. I've had this dream for literally 15 years. So
What?
when like people say like, oh, like you've been doing this blah blah for so long, like no, like you just didn't see all the behind the scenes. You didn't see what was happening before I really started putting myself out there on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So now
When was
now I'm
that?
working a full-time job, but like that's only been the last 7-8 months.
How much really these last 7, 8 months?
Yeah.
Because tracking your progress across social media, you are always on set. You are
Yeah.
always working. You
Hmm.
you know you're surrounded by some huge camera apparatus, cables, lenses. It's amazing. Always behind a camera, always doing it. Like feet, boots on the ground, in the trenches, doing it.
Hmm.
And that's what's very impressive. I mean, you work, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
work is just that. It's work.
Hmm.
It's maybe not all the glam. I mean, you do have a great social media presence. I mean, you got a lot of followers, but at the end of the day, you're saying what, it's been 8 months since you've really been like having a full-time gig?
Yeah. I mean, like I did a lot of freelance, but there'd be lulls where I didn't work for a month or two, especially in 2020. Like it's funny that I got a
Oh,
job at the end of 2020, but like the beginning of it, like I didn't have anything going for me. Like it was very difficult. Like I was just scrounging for work. And eventually things would come, and when you do freelance, you just kind of have to get used to being in that place of survival. And so
hmm.
you get used to, okay, if this doesn't happen, eventually another job's going to happen. And so you just kind of, I guess, psych yourself up into like trying to be okay with not working for a little while, which is, it's nice with the freedom, but it's very stressful. So now I'm in a different position where I can be on set all the time, every day in a studio. But I did have to work to get here.
See, it's that instability of the arts, but you're in it for love of
Right.
the game. I mean, exactly what you're saying is what actors go through. So you
Yeah.
book a gig, but you don't know when your next gig is coming, and you got to have some
Hmm.
tough bark on you. You got to you know weather rejection and uncertainty and instability,
Right.
knowing that the next gig is out there somewhere,
Hmm.
somehow. So I want to. Here's what is very interesting to me. What I want to know: sexism, the S word. Let's talk about sexism.
Yeah.
Do you find? I mean, come on, it's there, right?
Hmm.
Do it's like when Trump said America's not racist. Come on, right? That'd be like saying America's not sexist, but it doesn't
Right.
pervade everything we do. I
Hmm.
think in Western society, and especially America, we really gender different careers. If I
Hmm.
say doctor, so many people think of a man. If I say nurse, so many people think of a woman. What's a
Right.
school teacher? A woman, right?
Hmm.
A woman couldn't possibly be the surgeon. It's a man that's going to walk into the room. I think likewise, we think of all the famous directors, right? Scorsese and Spielberg, right?
Right.
How many people can name, say, Catherine Bigelow, or name as many female directors as they can male? It's a very
Hmm.
male saturated industry. So I imagine that you are hit with those stereotypes, or maybe have you ever come up against a wall where it's like your credibility is called into question just for the mere fact that you're a woman? Talk about
Yeah.
that.
I think I think for every woman, our credibility is always tested, no matter what. Um, but yeah, it's kind of like an uphill battle where like society has always put this pressure on women that they don't necessarily have what it takes to be a leader. And then also outside pressures of people just not believing in you. So I feel like it's funny because I just saw something where someone I used to work with who did freelance got this gig um, for this music video, and the musician of the music video reached out to me a few months ago and asked me if I wanted to model or act in it. He doesn't know me. And so I messaged him back and I was like, oh, I don't act or model, but if you need a DP or director, let me know. And he kind of gave me this passive aggressive, like, thumbs up and never said anything again. And I was just like, yeah, I don't do that. Like, nothing in my Instagram, nothing anywhere says that I model or I act. And I get that a lot. And it's sort of frustrating, like just strangers commenting on my thing saying, oh, you should act. Oh, you should model. Oh, why are you doing that? Like you
Well,
should do
yeah,
this.
you should coast on your looks, not your talent, not
Right. I mean, even
your
just
technical skills.
exactly, even just my last post, someone said, oh, you're so beautiful. You should model and act. And I understand that a lot of people think that it's a compliment and maybe they think I want to hear it. But
Hmm.
I almost feel insulted when people say it at this point because I've worked so hard to get here, and I don't consider myself a model or an actor. I'd be a terrible actor. I hate being in front of the camera. Like stuff like this, like I love talking about film, but I don't necessarily like being in the spotlight. And the
Hmm.
only reason I have my Instagram, the only reason why I feel like I've maybe flourished a little bit is because I love it so much and people can genuinely see that. But acting is so hard and modeling is so hard.
Ah,
I don't want that attention on me like that. And I don't want to be considered that either, because I feel like I'm not that and I don't want to get it mixed up. So
you don't seek the limelight like that.
no, and I understand how difficult it is to be like that. So I don't want to take that away from people who actually are acting and modeling and really in the trenches in that field. And so when people tell me, oh, you should do this, what they're really saying is, oh, all I see is your looks, and you should just, what you said, coast off that. And why are you doing this? You don't belong here. And I think
Right.
that's kind of what really stings, is like this feeling of not belonging, um, which, a lot of artists, I guess, feel like that. But like, I guess being a woman and necessarily, uh, oh gosh, I hate saying this. Even conventionally attractive women, I hate saying that so much. Nobody, nobody say anything for me
Record
saying
folks,
that.
you keep saying
But
it.
I'm not ugly, and
Let me put it this way. I'm not ugly.
I'm not ugly, and I am photogenic. I don't necessarily like being in the spotlight. I'd much rather just show my work, but a lot of times I just don't have work to show because it's a long process. Um, and so there's just like this weird uh struggle that I deal with, like
Mhm.
being in the spotlight and then just wanting to show my work, and then people saying, oh, well, why are you doing that? Because it doesn't really make any sense to a lot of people. Like, why don't you just be a model?
This is interesting. So what I'm hearing is you're acknowledging your looks. You're acknowledging that's a thing. It's there. It's like the elephant in the room. But it is quite undercutting when that's the only merit people see in you. Oh, well, she's hot. She should be a model on music video. And just
Right.
looking right past all your technical skills, schooling, and experience you now have. It's insulting, like you said. It's undercutting, and
Yeah.
I think it's even a form of disrespect. So that's all they see. All they see is the obvious. The
Yeah.
obvious is how we all look. That
Yeah.
there's no creativity in acknowledging how someone looks. You're not seeing deeper, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's that's the only merit they're seeing is the obvious.
Yeah,
And
and it hurts a little bit because like I've spent so long like trying to hone my craft and get better, and try to like, connect with other filmmakers and try and create this somewhat of a, community with other women in film, and a lot of, I try to get quality followers now. That's what I'm trying to like hone in on. Like it's funny because I posted a picture not long ago of me wearing shorts, and apparently that was a thirst trap.
explain the phrase thirst trap for any listener who might not know.
Oh, so I guess it's just a picture that's attractive for people to like. I don't know, like, like women who post booty pics just to get likes,
You're searching for legs. A thirst trap.
which I thought was really funny because and then they said something like, oh, like, do you actually have work? Which I've gotten weird comments like that. And it's so obvious. All you have to do is swipe left, and there's all my reels, there's my behind the scenes, there's my website. And so it's just people who just think I have it easy, and they just want to see what they want to see. And they don't want to actually look through my profile and my work and my demo reel and my website. And I say all those things, and then they don't say anything back.
Here you go. You're no fun. Tease,
Yeah. Well,
tease.
it's
But
obvious.
you wear a pair of shorts and all that other shit goes out the window.
Right. And I was like, I thought I looked nice. I was not trying to thirst trap anyone. I was wearing a nice blazer and shorts that matched. I'm sorry if you thought that was a thirst trap. I
Oh,
really was on set. You could see it for yourself. So,
fuck. That really speaks to the whole climate we're in, right?
right?
I think that's brutally telling. It's like you think I look nice. I want to put my professionalism and work forward, showcase that. People see shorts, people see leg, and they're like, oh,
Yeah,
everything else
exactly.
is nullified and void. Like,
Exactly.
have you experienced anything inappropriate on set? Have directors, men, anyone been inappropriate? Any harassment? Any outright blatant sexism? What's some of your horror stories? What's some of the worst stories?
I mean, now I think as you get older, you just learn who to work with. So now it really doesn't happen at all. But when I was a lot younger, especially as an intern, you just get a lot of people who, I mean, as an intern, you're obviously not knowledgeable about everything and you're trying to learn, but you get a lot of people who are very condescending and people who make a lot of inappropriate jokes. So I remember one time on set, I was like the head PA and people kept making jokes about how I'm the head PA. So I like to give head. And like, I was like 19. And when I think about that now, I'm like, that is disgusting because some of the people on set were in their 60s. And so imagining that now, I definitely would have said something. But when you're younger and you're trying to like work your way up in the industry, it's very difficult to not be liked because you want to get hired again. You want to work again. And it's just like little
I didn't mean
things
to
like
laugh, by
that.
the way. That's yeah. I didn't mean to laugh. By the way, that's thinking
No,
of a
you're
19
fine.
year old just newly in college, an intern, trying to make a good first impression. You're sort of helpless against such humor.
Right.
Because, what could you say? How much could you push back or be like, hey, that really makes me uncomfortable? They're like, whoa, she's uptight too.
Right. And that's
Right.
kind of the comments you get if you do push back. And so eventually you just kind of learn to see the signs and what people are good to work with and what people aren't. And you just kind of don't put up with it and you kind of just make your own path. And I think that's why I started doing things differently because I just realized if I'm going to get work and I'm going to do what I want to do, I'm going to have to do it myself.
Right. Right. Make your own
So,
destiny. So, projects. What are some of your favorite projects or most memorable? What have you worked on?
um, so I guess, man, there's so many different
No,
random
you're. This is.
projects.
I realize I'm asking a person who has a prodigious portfolio who's worked a
I don't know if
ton.
it's prodigious, but it's very, very long.
Yeah. Some of your more memorable projects. What would anything we'd know or?
I mean, the last one that I did that I guess was my biggest project that I wrote and directed, and we did it on a micro budget,
Well,
was an action film, like a heavy action film that I've never done before. We shot it in the fall of 2019, and then it got into the Utah Film Festival, which was the biggest film festival I've ever gotten into. Of course, the premiere got canceled because of COVID.
oh no, robbery.
But
Oh,
I did get in and it was a pretty proud moment for me because we did it like for under $500 and we had these two great kick-ass stunt women who, were kicking each other's asses, like throwing each other over each other's shoulder. We had a breakaway glass sugar bottle and they were doing some pretty intense stunts. And so like, yeah, it was just some silly 5 minute short, but I put everything I had into it and I got it into a film festival. And I was just so excited that I did something like outside of work, outside of being so broke and stressed. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this and put what little money I have into it. And luckily
wow.
something came out of it.
You created
So
something that wasn't there before. Look at you.
yeah.
What's it called?
Oh, lip service. I think you can find it on my website. I know
Yeah,
the
where
behind
do
the
you watch
scenes
it?
is. It's on YouTube also.
I'm gonna watch it. Like when this is over, I'm gonna watch it.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, lip
No
service.
judgments. We shot it in one day.
Oh, yeah, believe me, no judging. Come on, that's amazing. You got into a film festival. Come on.
Yeah, so I mean that was a nice moment for me because I hadn't done anything for a while. Just because when you're working and you're freelance, you're really just working what you can get, and a lot of the times it just be live stuff. And who am I going to show live content to? I never see it again. Like it's not exciting. It's nothing to do with me. I'm just running the camera, usually or technical directing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's why it frustrates me when people say, "Oh, can I see more of your work?" I'm like, well, a lot of the times, like a lot of the work that I've done in the past, like I don't have it. I don't have access to it. Like I've worked a lot of jobs where like I never even see it again. But
Really? Never even
yeah,
see the product in many cases.
yeah, because I mean I'm not really invested in it, and it's not necessarily film stuff. It's live production. It's training videos. It's all over the
Yeah,
place.
yeah,
I mean, now I am, because all the stuff I've been doing, I'm directing, and a lot of it I'm writing and directing and editing and running the camera.
You
So I guess
act? You should act.
I should act. It'd be terrible.
How
Should
big was your crew for lip service?
I think our it was 10 people. It was
Wow.
very small.
And there was two
Three
players,
two
two people.
two two main people, and then one cameo, and then one other person who was in it at the end. Um but yeah, it was a very small crew in one location. There was a lot of stunts and stuff to get through, and a lot of other things that went wrong, but we
You
did
know what
it.
they say though? It's all about the finished product. The audience can't tell how big your crew was.
Oh yeah, no, they don't
They
know.
can't tell how that you shot in a day. If the acting's good, it looks beautiful, and the writing's solid, it's
Yeah,
kismet. That's all you
yeah.
need. That's all
And
you
I
need.
do have my behind the scenes on my website if anyone wants to see,
I'm
because
going
like
to watch
it's
all of
it's
it.
pretty it's pretty interesting to see like how much of a skeleton crew we really were, like thinking about it now. Like there
Exactly.
wasn't much help.
But no one would ever know just watching it, right?
No,
Right.
I hope not.
All that matters. Like I will literally watch this tonight. What what's your what's the worst on-set story you can think of? Everything going
uh
wrong, terrible, or like did you drop a camera or someone screamed at you or an actor broke their back or something cool? What do you got?
um I mean,
You got some
the
crazy
only thing
stories.
I can really think of that like that I was invested in was my senior project in college. So I wrote and directed it, and it was a narrative film. A lot of the films that you do for your senior project have to be documentaries. The narratives have to get approved by the professors, and usually only one a year gets approved. And so
What?
I don't know, I can't remember why. I think maybe, oh man, I can't really remember,
Content
but I
or
maybe like maybe everyone just sucked at writing. I don't know. But
it's just
only two got approved, and mine was one of them. And it was a film set on a farm with a grandpa was the main character, and he lost his wife recently, and his granddaughter comes to visit him, and they're trying to rekindle their bond. And so I had a horse and a sheep farm as my set. And they always say don't work with animals, and I believe it, because that was very stressful. Luckily, I spent like one day, like one whole day, to have all the stunts with the horse. And the person who got the horse, it was her horse, but she wasn't necessarily trained that well outside of her own farm. So the
wow.
horse was very stressed in a new environment. Um, and I think the worst part was eventually the horse got so fed up it bucked our main actor in the head.
What? Like kick the actor in
He head butted him. So he was sitting on top of him and he head butted him. Luckily he was okay and he was a good sport. It just kind of made his lip a little bigger for a little while.
oh.
That was really scary. The trainer started crying
What?
because
That's
she was so stressed out because the
not
horse was
confident in the environment.
stressed. Um, and then, like I had someone else who I had no control over. When you're in school, you can't fire people, or at least I couldn't. And so there was someone in my group who was kind of trying to sabotage the project because his project didn't get picked and he was really angry about it. Um, so that was very stressful. And toward the end of it, like the whole project was basically on me to fix it.
Oh my God.
I spent a year and a half on that, from writing to the finished project. I
You edit as well, right?
I do. So I ended up having to take over the edit because the person who was in charge of editing was the one who was trying to sabotage it.
Oh
I
my
didn't
God.
want him to. as soon as I took it over, everyone's like, oh, this is making more sense. I'm like, okay, good. Um,
Jack of all trades. You're Jacqueline of all trades. This
I
is,
try. And so, I mean, and then, I got it into the UVU Film Festival, didn't win anything, nothing,
ugh,
no
damn.
awards. It was so hard. I was so proud of it. Obviously, there's a lot of things that I would have changed. It was the biggest crew I'd ever worked with, the biggest story. It was a 3-day project, like 16-hour days.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was a lot of work on a sheep farm in the middle of nowhere.
It didn't win like best supporting animal actor, nothing. And no,
Nothing,
brutal.
nothing.
Got robbed.
So yeah, a little bit. But like I learned a lot. And so like I almost feel like it was maybe a good thing. Like it really toned down my ego.
Humbling.
Very humbling, especially when you're about to graduate. I don't know if that's really the best time to graduate, but that's what happened. So
Yeah. So I want to know your influences. I mean, anyone who goes into film loves film. What are your favorite films? What influenced you as a kid growing up before you went off to college?
oh, that's a
Yeah.
good question.
Yeah. What films would you like to emulate in your filmmaking? Stylistically.
I love Sofia Coppola. I love her style of filmmaking. I
Lost in
love
Translation.
Lost in Translations, my favorite film. Um, I really love dark comedies. That's really where I want to go. I love the Coen brothers.
Oh,
They're
yes.
so fun and different. And I love the dichotomy between something very serious and that is also funny at the same time.
What's some of your favorite Coens?
I love Burn After Reading and Fargo,
Oh yeah.
obviously. They just have like this great like you just laugh and it's so inappropriate and for some reason that's just so funny to me. I also
Liberating.
I also love It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is one of my
Oh,
favorite shows. Like
yes.
they're just genius and just
Irreverent.
yeah, and like I think I always love like dramas and stuff, but I really lean toward like obvious dark comedies where there's like that drama and then that really inappropriate laughter that goes along with that type of
Love that.
stuff.
Goes against
And
the grain of being a Utah, Valley girl.
yeah, I think that surprises people a lot. Like in my interview for the job I'm at now, I told them that and they're like, oh, that's really cool. Like,
Did that come up in it as a question?
yeah, I think we were talking about movies or something like that. And so I was just talking about like my favorite genre and
It's
all
gotta come
that.
up. What's your favorite movie? What's
It
some of your
has
favorite?
to.
Yeah, it's like, why are you in this job? You had to be inspired by something. And
Yeah.
that's the art form. That's the art form you're in.
Yeah. And I also loved Parasite when that came out. I just think that movie's so
Whoa.
genius. And that's definitely more a darker type film. But
Oh man.
man,
Ultimately,
I
I thought
cried,
bad. Oh, by the end, I'm like, whoa, much darker and sadder than I thought it'd be. I was
right? But I hate movies that are just so sad and they're so sad and somber throughout the whole thing. I I think I get really into film. So like if I'm going to watch a movie like that, I have to really be in the mood. But for a dark comedy, like it just takes you on this roller coaster and it's almost like it's fun to anticipate what's going to happen next. And I do like the inappropriate humor for some reason.
it satisfies a subliminal rebellion in you.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what real life is anyway. Like when things, not everything's so sad all the time. Sometimes you could be having a mental breakdown and laugh in the middle of
Right.
it. So like that's really more what real life is to me.
Life is irreverent, I would say.
Yeah.
Life doesn't take itself too seriously. You can get shitty and get hard, but life's
Right.
R-rated and life's irreverent, I would say.
Exactly.
Definitely not rated G.
Definitely.
If you're living it right, I would say. What are you working on now? So who do you work for? You said what company?
So I work for a company called Maloof Companies. I like to say it's a furniture tech company. So we own a lot of different types of companies. We just acquired like a company that's kind of like HelloFresh, We have a nonprofit for human trafficking.
Whoa.
Um, it's kind of all over the place, which I love because that's what I did as a freelancer. Um, and I have a lot of freedom, and I have like certain brands that I work with, and I just wrote a couple commercials that just got approved, so I get to direct
What?
those, which is really
So
fun.
you do it all. You write, you direct, you DP, director of photography. So you have a hand in cinematography behind the camera, and you edit.
Yes.
You're like a quadruple, pentuple threat.
Kind of. I
And
feel
when
like
you
I'm better at writing and directing, but the DP stuff and the editing stuff kind of came with it as I had to do it. So,
man, when you start modeling and acting, I mean, the world, it's yours.
right? I don't know how I'm gonna run the camera and act at the same time, but we'll figure it out.
The big names do it all the time. Charlie Chaplin did it. You got this.
That's true.
Man, that is unbelievable. So you basically have a hand in commercials. You're shooting PSAs. You're shooting commercials. That's the company you work for.
Right.
You're
Yes.
rolling out content for those big issues.
Hmm.
So this stuff's on TV. Like I could see something that the next human trafficking commercial I see, it's directed by you.
I mean, it's kind of all over the place. I mean, sometimes I'm DPing on it. Sometimes, I mean, the last one I was scripty and second AC on it. So, but then like my own brands, I'm always directing, I'm always editing, DPing, and all that type of stuff. So it's online, it's on TV, it's a whole bunch of things.
You are out there. You're the real McCoy. You're doing it. What's next for you? What are you? Do you any passionate private project you got in the works?
Um,
Or
so
did you?
a random project that I'm trying to focus on now because I tend to go back and forth without finishing anything. But right now I'm working on so I have an ebook called Get Your Story Straight. It's a workbook for beginner storytellers. Um, and right now I'm trying to turn it into a hard copy as well as a coloring book. So it's a workbook slash coloring book for beginner writers. I love storytelling. I took a lot of storytelling classes in school, and then I also do script consulting on the side. And so I love talking about it. And I just started writing it when COVID hit, and I realized like I had a lot of fun writing it. And so I'm trying to expand that into a hard copy. And I had someone recently read it that told me I should get it published. So that's really what I'm
Wow.
focusing
Get your
on right
story
now.
straight.
Get Your Story Straight. Yes, that's on my website as well.
Look for it soon at Barnes and Nobles, hopefully.
Hopefully
Um,
that made me
hopefully,
feel good when he said I should try and get it published. It was good because he's also a writer. And so I've never really considered myself a writer, but I really liked writing it. And so I feel like I could do it. And that's
well, yeah, I
just
think
a
there are a lot
random
of
thing to
things.
do.
There are a lot of things that you don't consider that you are.
Probably.
You can do like pretty much anything. It sounds like. I want your advice to women out there. So not only just specifically women trying to get into the film industry, but women in general
Yeah.
battling in a man's world, right?
Yeah.
Battling, trying to carve a way out into these male-dominated professions. What's your advice to women out there?
Like I feel like a lot of things have happened in the last 10 years of me working in film and trying to better myself. But the biggest thing that I kick myself for and that I wish I knew sooner was that I should be more confident within my own skills. Because, I mean, regardless if you're a man or a woman, if you're not confident in what you're doing, people are not going to believe in you, regardless of talent, money, passion, whatever. Confidence really is the key to getting through life. And I realized this within the last year, when I started working with people who were ahead of me, but weren't necessarily more talented or better than me in any way, but they hustled and they believed in themselves. And that really is the key to pushing yourselves, because as much as I don't necessarily love being in the spotlight and I love strictly just showing my work on Instagram, I'm here because I pushed myself and I became more confident in my abilities and my voice. And I really started putting myself out there on Instagram because I was working at a place where I was constantly running the camera. And one day I just decided, you know what, I'm going to take a picture with me holding this camera on set. And I got a lot of likes. And I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe I should start showing people what I'm doing on set, because I was working a lot, but no one knew. And so I started doing that more and more. And then one day I woke up and had like 400 new followers from a post I did. And not that that matters, but like it gives you that confidence and you're just like,
Empowering.
oh, yeah. And I was just like, oh, like this is great. This is like a visual resume. This is a very easy way for me to tell people this is what I do because I'm terrible at pitching. I'm terrible at selling myself. I'm not a salesman at all. But you go look at, I tell people, go look at my Instagram, and all you have to do is scroll and you see all these different jobs I've been on, all these different cameras I've worked with. And it's so easy. And so I started doing that for the last 2 years, and only good things have come from it. So honestly, like the biggest thing is just like putting yourself out there and believing that you can do it.
That's right. I mean, that's had such simple origins. Like, maybe I should take a picture of me holding this camera. That's
Right.
so funny. I mean, you took a chance and it blew up.
Yeah.
Now, joke's on you. You have like thousands of followers. I mean, we found you.
Right.
Wow. Filmmaker. This is awesome. We need more diversity, right?
Right.
I mean, it's been all these men, and they're great. They're great. Not their
Mhm.
fault for being born men, but there's not enough diversity. I mean, what's your ratio? Would you say? How many other women like you do you encounter on sets?
Uh, I think being in Utah, it's probably a lot smaller. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of sets. Even in school, like I was the only girl in a lot of classes, and I think it's strange. I don't understand it, but I also get it in Utah because a lot of women don't necessarily progress outside of the norm here. Um, and they don't, and I think I did a study like in school where women don't necessarily go to higher paying jobs. We're like the second worst in the country or something crazy like that. And so women just kind of just stay, in non-leadership roles in a lot of things, or more conformist roles. And I don't know, I just I've always been sort of a tomboy since I was little. When I was really little, I wanted to be a basketball player when I was 8 years old. There's something. Realized I hated it when I started playing for real. But I was kind of always surrounded by boys, and I was always very active. And I guess I just didn't care. And I didn't realize it, that I was the only girl a lot of the times.
Oh,
But
wow. It's just normal.
so maybe it's just normal, and I just got used to it, and I got used to standing out a little bit. And now I kind of enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a distinguishment, right?
Yeah.
It distinguishes you from the herd. You're a cut above the rest.
Yeah. Even at my job, like there's 3 other directors, they're all men. And a lot of people do not think I'm a director. And so I like telling them, I was like, no, I'm actually one of the
That's
directors.
satisfying. What do they mistake you for? Like a personal
Uh,
assistant? Or
yeah, an assistant, someone referenced me, oh, are you just kind of a floater? I'm like, no, I'm actually one of the directors.
I will be directing you today.
I am your director. Please sit down.
Yeah.
So, I
Speak
mean,
what you do.
it just makes me laugh now, and you get used to it. But yeah, at some point you just have to get used to standing out.
That's right. Be comfortable being different.
Yeah.
I like that. Good for you. Well, Whitney, I'm humbled. I'm humbled that you took time to talk to me, and hopefully you will empower and inspire women in particular, because whether you know it or not, you're role modeling. I think you're role modeling. I think you're modeling uh, admirable behavior, right? Especially for women, because when you walk into a room and you can't see yourself represented anywhere else, that's lonely. That can be intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
That can be demoralizing. So say a woman out there wants to be a filmmaker and she hears this podcast and you give her the impetus to go to school like you did or something, that's worth it, right?
Oh,
So
totally.
that's good. You're keep role modeling. You keep being the only one in the room. That's fine. You be the lone wolf. There's power in that.
I'll try.
What's your Instagram? Tell us your Instagram so that you get more followers and get more inspiration out there.
Witty Film Girl, just spelled like the word Witty Film Girl. Do not ask me how I came up with that handle. There was very little thought put into it. Just sounded like my name.
I thought it was a play on word with Whitney. I thought it was like, oh, that's very clever.
It's kind of a play off my name. I thought putting my name would be boring, and so I came up with Witty Film Girl, and that's
Film girl.
what happened. So
It's memorable. That would be funny. The interview is the core of like, we have to know, how did you think of your handle on Instagram? It's amazing.
I was like, I have no idea.
That's really good. Well, we want to see what you're up to next. We'll keep an eye out for you and keep doing your thing. It's awesome. More women in film, more women in empowered roles.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Take care.
See ya.